We feel very lucky to have been partnered with Goodwill because they've done so much for Lori and for us.
At Christmas time or around birthdays, he's so proud he can go into his own account and be able to go buy his sister a little gift or whatever because he worked hard to do that and has put some of it away. And
when we found out that Brian was going to receive services from Goodwill, we were really excited about it because we had heard from other parents in the community what kind of experiences their children and their young adults had had.
I mean, my friends never even could figure out how I was ever going to be employed by anybody, let alone being given an opportunity to be needed. And I think that was kind of one of the things that people got when they came in the door was you looked around and, we had no carpet on the floor or any of that stuff. You looked around, and if you felt the need to be needed, this was your spot.
Goodwill Industries International was founded in 1902 by a man with roots in Iowa, Edgar J. Helms, in ministry at Solon United Methodist Church, and graduate of Cornell College in Mount Vernon. Edgar J. Helms founded the first Goodwill in South Boston in 1902.
Our Goodwill Industries give work to the poor in an atmosphere of goodwill. Work greatly enhances the morale of those who help themselves and others by their labor in our industry. Not charity, but a change. It believes more in prevention than cure. That is what a job does.
In 1965, Goodwill Industries of Southeast Iowa was founded to help train and employ people with disabilities. 2 years later, with Colonel Brooks W. Booker as Board of Directors President, ground was broken for the present-day headquarters of Goodwill of the Heartland. What began with a small training center and thrift store in Iowa City now includes retail operations and support services to communities across 19 counties in eastern Iowa and Illinois.
We've had lots of changes over the years, and we've had times where we've needed to quickly adapt and make changes in the business that we were doing. One of the largest challenges I can recall was we used to have about a half of our revenue and much of our training was done in a beverage recycling project. And that business, for a variety of reasons, quickly dried up, and so we needed to very quickly shift gears and make major changes in the operation of the organization and the training that we were provided.
The first 10, 15 years were difficult years for Goodwill. There were no pay raises for 2 years, there was no benefits, so by the time I got there, the crisis was over, and the organization was really ready to grow again. When we first started, the stores were not very visible and not very important. Today, everybody knows Goodwill is a bunch of stores where you take donations, but in those early days, we were very much more of a service provider for people, adults with disabilities.
Well, I remember back when I first started, I'd say, well, I work at Goodwill at a party or something, and somebody said, oh, do you have a shirt about my size? And so I said, we may come and see us, but here's what we do. Here's what we do with that retail. Here's why we do that retail. We try to make people's lives better, basically. You know, anybody with a barrier or a challenge or whatever, we'll try to work with them. That's the reason we're here.
One of the advantages that Goodwill has here is we started doing vocational services for people with disabilities early and moved it into the community early.
A lot of people have no idea that they might know a little bit about Goodwill, but they have no idea that we provide supported community living services where we're helping people in their homes.
When I started 28 years ago, we were of course much smaller. We had about 70 staff employees, where we currently have over 500. We did a little bit of everything. So in that day, we didn't have job coaches, so I would do job coaching as well as job development. And it was an era where we were very small and employees just pitched in and did whatever was needed to be done.
I think that the power of work makes people feel good about themselves. And so you have to start there. You start feeling good about yourself, then everything else goes along. Then you work a little harder, you push a little harder. When I walk in, I feel like a movie star because they're, hey Deb, how's it going? High fives everywhere. Everywhere I go. I make it a point though to know the people that work for us and stop and talk to them because it's important to them. Sometimes this workplace is the only interaction they get with people, so why not make their time fun. So
when I started out as a job coach, I had one of the most humbling experiences I had in my life. My first assignment was working with a young individual, almost identical in age, who had experienced a traumatic brain injury when he was in the military. And that comparison that I was able to make and thinking how one moment in time can take people on completely separate paths was for me a very humbling moment.
And when you see somebody get a job and see how that can transform their lives, how much more independent they can become, both financially but socially, and feeling confident in themselves, then that's just a huge reward.
My name is Dan Brandon and I'm a job trainer here at the Iowa City Center.
I'm Sherry Bitlove, I'm a client.
This right here is called preforms, and these come from a company called Alkla. There's a little number on the lip, and we're looking for one specific number because there's a defect in that number. So if she finds that, it'll go in the reject bin, and any other good ones that can pass go into a different bin. I have held a lot of jobs in my life. Most of them have been retail. I cooked, I've worked in elementary schools, I've done retail from stuff on registers to unloading trucks, and Goodwill is the first place that I ever felt home. And to me, that's the most important thing in the world because I finally felt I was somewhere where I felt welcomed, I felt appreciated, and it's the first place I feel like I actually belong.
I like Dan a lot. He had made me smile all the time.
I think there's a lot of people, some still there, that work for Goodwill for a long period of time. And I think that there's several reasons. I'm not sure I know what they all are. One was, I think, the administrative style that we had, that John Watson led us through. I think he was there for, 20 years, something like that, of astronomical growth, where people were valued for what they brought. They were given independence. Goodwill always valued self-starters and would make those individuals feel a part of things, I believe, to a great degree.
I think Goodwill has a very nice way of setting people up for success, and I will use myself as an example. When I first started, I was an accounting clerk and was learning the different areas of those jobs. Goodwill is huge at promoting from within. I think actually our president started as a job coach like 30 years ago, so that's an awesome example. But really, my supervisor gave me the tools that I needed to be able to grow. And I think Goodwill is 100% behind that. And since I process all kinds of paperwork, the promotions and all that, I see how much we hire from within and how much we train our people to step up to the next level. And so they're really excited. There's a lot of people that I've seen, go from a store clerk to a manager over time. So it's a wonderful thing. And then you just feel so good about yourself and the place that you work because they're helping make your dreams come true.
Well, the way we spend the dollars that are donated to us, we spend roughly 90% of that on mission. So every dollar that's produced in our revenue through our stores or our light manufacturing or mission services, 90 cents of that goes back into the mission.
If someone had told me that we'd be where we're at today, it would have been hard for me to even imagine. Each time I give a tour, the parting comment is always, I had no idea. We are kind of the best kept secret, and there's so much of what we do that our community does not realize. They're certainly familiar with our retail stores and our donations operation, but there's so many other parts of our business that are not well known. I think that people don't realize that we serve so many different populations. We are working with a wide variety of individuals, so that barrier to independence may be a disability, it may be homelessness, it may be poverty, maybe someone who's a veteran, but we're all about helping put people to work and helping them to gain the pride that comes in having a job.
I think that Edgar would look at what Goodwill has become and be absolutely pleased as punch. I think he would see first and foremost the numbers of individuals that had been affected by Goodwills around the country and to some extent international. I think that he would be impressed at the breadth of services that are offered at Goodwill now compared to what was the case before.
I like having a job. I do pretty good with it.
He has just blossomed, a very independent young man, and we're very proud of him for what he's done and how much Goodwill has been able to help him with those needs.